Hi guys, how's it going? I'm not crying, I just put my contacts in. It's in the money. I just want to prepare you for the week ahead because we have some important stuff coming up from the Federal Reserve. Jerome Powell and the FOMC Board of Governors. What we're looking at here is on TradingView, we can, on the bottom right, if I select this calendar, we can see upcoming economic events. And if I want to see the important stuff, I click this, and that's what I want to see. This was this week, that's last week, and this is this upcoming week. What we really want to focus on here is not this, but the Fed interest rate decision, the FOMC economic projections, so the summary of economic projections, the report with the Board of Governors, which makes up the FOMC, the Federal Open Market Committee, what their projections are for the economy in the future, and then the Fed press conference where Jerome Powell will talk about his views on the economy and what the economy will look like going forward. The other stuff will be important too, but this is really going to be the highlight of the week on Wednesday. So if I flip over to the next tab here, you can see at the top interest rates, middle unemployment, and the bottom is CPI. I couldn't find a way to do core inflation, which excludes food and energy, which are volatile prices. Core CPI is the favorite inflation indicator for the Fed, but whatever, we'll go with CPI. So what's happening is employment's going up a little bit. Okay, that's to be expected because interest rates are so high. Yes, they've come down some, but they're high enough that people are laying people off because the cost of borrowing has gone up. It's required companies in order to survive to start laying people off. So that makes sense. And then what we have here is CPI. Inflation has come down and it's on a downward trend still, a little blip up, but it's still on a downward trend. And what we want to see from the Fed is them being dovish. Dovish meaning that they come in with the tone of interest rates coming down. We don't want too dovish. If it were to be too dovish and we were to cut rates super aggressively, what could happen is inflation could spike back up. Yes, it'll drop unemployment, but inflation can spike back up, and then we'd be back in the same boat we were in over here back in 2022. So what are the odds that the Fed is dovish? Well, almost 100%. If I use the CME Group's estimate, it's a 96% chance of a 25 basis point cut. You can see the target rate is 425 to 450. They can't exactly nail it. It's complicated to do that. So the current is 450 to 475. They're trying to drop it by 25 basis points. There's a 96% chance that happens. There's a 4% chance that it doesn't happen. If this 4% chance turns into a reality and the Fed decides to stay more cautious and allow things to play out, you're going to see the markets react pretty negatively because we want lower interest rates because we want companies to be able to borrow for cheaper. We want people spending money. We want people borrowing money for cheaper. We want people buying houses, etc. So this would be a negative outcome. But of course, we don't want more than 25 basis points, in my opinion, because then you could spark up inflation again. And then what are you going to have to do? You're going to have to raise rates to calm inflation back down. We're just in a mess. So right now, the Fed is being very cautious and lowering interest rates rather slowly, especially with this 25 basis point cut in December. So yeah, that's kind of the situation here. What we don't want to see is unemployment continue to go up because then we'd have to raise interest rates, and we don't want to see, we'd lower interest rates. We don't want to see inflation go up because then we have to raise interest rates. We want these to both to remain kind of steady as we slowly decrease the interest rates. And the FOMC meets about 4 times a year for the interest rate decision. So what you also want to pay attention to on Wednesday, which I will be sure to post so you guys are aware, is the FOMC economic projections. So this kind of takes the Board of Governors estimates of certain economic indicators and puts them out plainly for you to see. So if I click on this link here, hopefully it'll take me to an example. Go to monetary policy, and then go to FOMC calendars, meeting calendars and information. And so what's going to happen is here we have the December 17th through 18th FOMC meeting, where on the 18th, Jerome Powell will release the interest rate decision and give his press conference. And when that happens, you're going to see this stuff right here where it says statement. And up here, like in September of 17th through 18th, it says projection materials. So that's where you'd see, if I hit the PDF, it's going to open up the summary of economic projections. The summary of economic projections back in September was when I turned from being more conservative to being much more bullish because things looked pretty positive. Change in real GDP, I'm just going to tell you what you can see. You can see what they expect for a change in real GDP. Unemployment rate, you can see that they expected it to come down. The PCE was expected to come down. Core PCE inflation was expected to come down as well. And this is a median. You can see the range and the central tendency as well. And you can see the Fed funds rate projection over time from 2024 through 2027. So that's expected to come slowly down as well. You can see box plots of where the Board of Governors expect real GDP to be at certain years. You can see where they expect unemployment to be at certain years. And you can see where they expect inflation to be, which is at their 2% target by 2027 or even earlier. So that's why I was getting pretty bullish around this time. And then you can see where they expect the midpoint of the target range of the federal funds rate to be. And this is a box plot of all the Board of Governors given their opinions on each year of 2024, 2025, 2026, 2027, et cetera. So you can see that they expect it to come down and remain at a certain level between 2.5 and 3.5% over the long run. And then it gives a bunch more information. So I'm not going to go over literally everything, but this is something you can explore for yourself. So what we want to see on Wednesday, in summary, is a dovish outlook, which means, hawkish would mean they want to increase interest rates. There's no reason they'd want to do that right now. So there's not going to be a completely hawkish stance. What would be deemed as a slightly hawkish stance is if they didn't do anything. But again, there's a 4% chance of that happening. What's likely going to happen is a 25 basis point cut because they have a lot of room to be careful. Because if we look back over here to kind of our overview of the economy, inflation is relatively low. It's heading towards its target of 2% in the long run. Unemployment is historically low. If I zoom out, you can see it's historically low. Yes, it's gone up, but it's still historically low. And that's the Fed Chair Jerome Powell has reemphasized many times, especially during his last speech, that he thinks that the labor economy is resilient and quite strong. And so what we want to see is them come down slowly. And these two things, unemployment and inflation, inflation come down slowly as well, and unemployment not have any skyrocketing effects. If that happens, we'd have to cut interest rate faster, and that could cause an increase in inflation. So right now we're kind of in a delicate balance, but overall in a pretty solid position because the labor market is not spiking aggressively, and inflation is going towards the target of 2% over the long run, especially if you look at core inflation, which I found on the other page, and I have lost it. But anyway. So that's just what to look out for on Wednesday. And of course, I'll post all that as soon as it's released. And the times are mountain time. So if I go back to the page where it shows, I'll fucking post it in the, I'll post it on Patreon. Okay, I thought I'd just make a little video covering that just so you guys are aware of what's going on. And yep. Love each and every one of you in a special and unique way. Have a great trading week. Stay green out there. Love you. Peace out.